Welcome back to the channel. I'm Joanna Kleinman, psychotherapist, empowerment coach, and CEO of the Mastering Your Mind Coaching Company. And if you clicked on this video, I'm gonna guess that there's something pretty specific that's happening inside of you right now. So I'm gonna guess that you are sort of in this dangerous, kind of strange in between time of your life. And you might not be able to name it, but you can feel it. Now, your life might not feel like a total disaster, but it also doesn't feel like the life that you know you're meant to be living. It kind of might feel like you're standing in a hallway between two selves, right? So there's the you that's here now with all of the responsibilities and all of the old patterns and kind of going through life as you know it. And then there's that future you and that future life that you can almost touch. It feels like you can see it, you can taste it. So I want to say something that might be a little hard to hear, okay? You are not in a space before your real life begins, okay? You're not in this waiting room. And this is why this is actually the most dangerous phase of your journey. And it's dangerous not because something bad is going to happen on the outside, but it is where most people abandon themselves and they abandon their vision. And they decide, you know what? Maybe this vision was never really cut out for me. And right, maybe I just don't have what it takes. Maybe I should just be grateful for what I have. I should stop wanting more. And they do this right before everything was about to change. So I think you clicked on this video because you might be looking for some kind of confirmation that you're not alone in this feeling, okay? And you might be sort of in this confused place, right? Almost feeling like there might be something wrong with you, right? Well, I see that life, and yet there are days where I feel so invigorated by reaching for that life. And then there are days where I feel like I'm a million miles away from that life. So let's talk about what is actually happening. Okay. Because what's really happening is it's almost like you're straddling two different worlds. So, on the one hand, you can literally see the life that you're supposed to be living, right? And that's the work that lights you up, or the relationship that feels really honest and safe, or the version of you that's confident, grounded, free, healthy. Okay. And that doesn't even exist like a vague fantasy anymore. It's really detailed. You can really see it, okay? And you can feel how that person walks into a room. You can feel how that person is no longer tolerating what you might be tolerating, okay? You know how that person speaks to themselves. So that's exactly why this current reality can feel so painful, because here you are, and there is that other version of you and that other version of your life. And the distance between the two sometimes feels like it could break you. And I completely know what that feels like. Okay. Some mornings you wake up with this charge. Okay. You feel like your future self right now. You make decisions from that future self, right? You set the boundary. You have the difficult conversation. You take the action that scares you. And even for a few hours, you completely inhabit that new version of you. And then, boom, comes the old version of you. Okay. And you might look at your bank account and, oh, well, that doesn't match my vision. Or, right, you had somebody that, kind of questioned what you were doing. Okay. Or you're looking around your current life and you don't have any external proof that anything that you're doing is working to get you further towards that life. Okay. And that's when you come crashing back down and you think, well, I must be delusional. Okay. I want you to understand this. This oscillation is exactly what transformation feels like from the inside. Okay. Your growth is not this beautiful straight line. All right. We have all been sold this story, right? You start at point A and you work really hard, or maybe you have the vision boards, or maybe you have the positive mantras, right? And you hear it all over social media. Oh, I did this and I made seven figures, right? So that's not the way that life works. Okay. It is not growth. It does not look like, oh, you're always getting better and you're just always stepping into this more confident, more clear, more grounded version of you. That is not how real growth looks. Real growth looks more like this surge forward and then what feels like a total collapse. It looks like an expansion and then going right back into that inner critic self that has you contract and say, who are you kidding? What are you thinking? This is not going to happen for you. Okay. A day where you feel unstoppable, followed by a week where you feel like, I don't know where that person went, but that person is gone. Okay. So in those contractions, it's not just that you question your path, you actually question yourself, right? What was that vision that I had even real? Am I just making this up? Maybe I should just, right, stop trying. Maybe that's just not meant for me. All right. The contraction has nothing to do with a loss of progress. The contraction is actually your old nervous system and your old identity catching up to what you just expanded into, right? You expanded into a new self, a new life, a new identity. And of course, that inner critic self is going to come charging in, okay? Because that feels really unfamiliar and really uncomfortable. And remember, our old identity and our old self is really only geared for one thing, and that is to keep us safe. That is to keep us inside of the familiar. So think of it like lifting weights, right? If you're building muscle right after a really hard workout, your muscles feel weaker. They feel shaky. They feel sore. Okay. That doesn't mean that the workout didn't work. Okay. That's when the growth is literally integrating into your tissue. Okay. So your mind and your nervous system work the same way. All right. So every time you see a new possibility, every time you take an action towards that possibility, whether it's a bold action or maybe it could be a little itty bitty action. Okay. But whenever you are acting from your future self, your whole system has to reorganize around that new identity. Okay. So that tired, heavy, what am I even doing feeling? Okay. That is the weight of becoming because you're carrying two versions of you at the same time. You're carrying the old version of you that's dissolving, and you're carrying the new version of you that's forming. And that's exhausting. It's exhausting. And it's not because something is wrong, it's because something is happening. Now, let's talk about why this phase feels so dangerous. This is where most people quit. Okay. And they quit because they believe that they're far away. But actually, when we get closer to that vision, that can be even scarier than being far away. Okay. When the dream is just fantasy, you can kind of escape into the fantasy, right? You can get lost in the fantasy because it's a fantasy. But now, oh my gosh, you've actually tasted that future self. You've actually felt that future self. You've actually embodied that future self for those brief moments. Okay. And so being in that old pattern, in the old familiar identity, even though it feels unbearable, it's familiar, right? So the time where you are in that new self, okay, that's when your inner critic becomes the loudest, okay? That's when it's going to say, this might never happen for you. You might be the one that it doesn't work for. I know you hear all of these other people saying, I manifested this and I manifested that. Just not going to work for you, okay? You are not going to defeat your inner critic's voice before you can move forward. I want you to understand that your inner critic is going to get louder the closer you get to that vision. And you have to trust me on this. This is why I created this work, because my inner critic gets really loud when I step into that new version of myself. Okay. That voice is actually testing you. So every time that old identity whispers, what if this isn't for you? The deeper question underneath is, do I actually want this? Or do I just like the idea of wanting it? Okay. And the thing is, actually wanting it requires you to be really uncomfortable and be in the messy unknown. And sometimes feel like you are flying a plane while you're building a plane. Okay. So readiness is not a feeling. And so many people wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel clear and motivated before they act. Okay. So they wait to start the business or to change careers or to have the hard conversation or to leave the misaligned relationship or to invest in themselves. Okay. Readiness is not an emotion. Readiness is a behavior. I want you to understand that readiness is in your behavior, not in your feeling or your emotion. Okay. So readiness is the action you take on the morning that you want to stay in bed, or the email that you send when your heart is literally pumping out of your body. Okay. Or the boundary that you set while your hands are shaking, or the decision to keep going when there is zero external evidence that anything is working. Okay. Because your brain learns from what you do, not just what you think. So every time you act while you're afraid, your internal system, meaning your mind, your body, your spirit, your nervous system, that whole system updates its internal story. Okay. So updating that internal story means telling yourself, maybe fear doesn't mean stop. Maybe fear just means I'm doing something new. See, that's how confidence is built, not from certainty, but from repetition. Okay. So every day you're casting votes with your choices. Now, your inner critic wants you to keep saying no. No to your body, no to rest, no to your intuition, no to your creativity, no to your next chapter. And that inner critic also wants you to say yes to overworking and staying small and numbing out and pleasing everyone else and doing what's comfortable and pretending that you don't want what you really want. Okay. So those yeses and nos become your identity. You can start reversing that dynamic with small yeses. Yes, I'm going to send one email. Yes, I'm going to walk around the block instead of scrolling. Yes, I'm going to say what's true for me in this conversation. Yes, I'm going to apply for that position even if I hear no. Yes, I'm going to treat my body like my body is my most sacred possession. Okay. So small yeses create a new trajectory. Tiny yeses create a new trajectory. Now, your self talk is very important here. Okay. I really want you to notice how you talk to yourself in this in between phase. Okay. Because if you're saying, I'm too old for this, that ship has sailed for me, I'm behind, it's not going to happen for me. I can't keep doing this. Okay. Every time you repeat a thought, you are wiring it deeper into your system. And that becomes the default program your brain uses to filter your reality. Okay. So I'm not telling you you have to jump into this wild fake positivity, but you can begin to tell yourself a more accurate truth. Like I'm in the middle of a transformation, or this contraction is actually integration. And I can keep going even when I don't feel like it. And I've already come too far to abandon myself now, right? And I'm allowed to want more than just this life that I'm living. Your words are not neutral, your words are actually instructions. Okay. So, in this in between phase, your feelings are terrible measuring sticks because your emotions are going to fluctuate based on sleep, your hormones, a comment someone made, what you ate, what you saw on social media. You can be on the edge of a breakthrough and you can feel like you're failing. So instead of asking, how do I feel about my progress? Ask, did I show up today, even a little? Did I take one action towards the life I want? Did I choose not to quit when it would have been easier for me to walk away? Did I stay with this path instead of burning it down just because it got hard? If the answer is yes to even one of those, you're making progress, whether you feel it or not. This time, this is not preparation. This is your life. This phase you're in, the uncertainty, the hunger, the ache, the building. This is not prep work for your real life. This is your life. And oddly, this building, going from where you are to that future self and that future vision, this might be one of the most alive chapters of your life that you will ever experience because you care really deeply about what you're building and you're reaching for something that really matters and you're stretching beyond who you used to be, that old automatic inner critic self. So you're learning to trust yourself, your authentic self, over your old conditioning. That's your inner critic self. So one day, when more of this vision has actually landed, your challenges are just going to be different. Okay. You're going to still have challenges. Your doubts are not going to disappear when you get to that next place. Trust me on this. Okay. The doubts will just feel more sophisticated. Okay. You're going to look back at this time and you're going to realize this is where I became who I actually am. So don't wish this whole phase away. I know it's hard. Trust me. Use it. Use it. Because if nothing else landed today, I want you to hear this. The fact that you are still here, the fact that you're listening to this means something. You haven't walked away. You haven't fully numbed out. You are still searching. You're still listening. You're still reaching. That is strength. So I want you to claim these three words. Say it out loud, say it in your journal, write it on a post-it note where you see it every day. The three words are, I keep walking. I just keep walking. Okay? Not I've arrived, not I'm totally confident now, not I have it figured out, because you don't. Just I keep walking. Because that is what separates the person who creates the life they're called to live from the person who abandons themselves right before the breakthrough. Okay? There is no such thing as perfection. There is no such thing as constant confidence. And there is no such thing as never feeling afraid. So just the decision, I'm not going to let my inner critic make the decision for me. My inner critic does not get the final say. I keep walking. Trust me, you're not alone in this in between. I am right there with you. You are in the exact place that everyone stands in right before they step into a completely different chapter of their life. And I am walking this with you. I believe that you are becoming who you're meant to be, even on the days that you can't feel it. So if this spoke to you, you can send this to the part of you that's tired and scared as a reminder. You're not behind. There's nothing wrong. You're just becoming. So just keep walking. Just keep walking. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I need to learn how to trust myself through this in between, I need tools to stay grounded and confident and aligned while I'm becoming this next version of me, I want to tell you about something that will support you immediately. The Confidence Cure, which is my signature self guided program, is only $97 from now until the end of 2025. That is $200 off the original price. You can use the promo code ConfidenceCure25, all one word, ConfidenceCure25. And this program teaches you the exact process to stop collapsing into your inner critic and start building the kind of deep, unshakable confidence that actually creates a new future. It is powerful, it's accessible. It makes an amazing gift for anyone in your life who's stepping into a new chapter, whether they're 18 or 80. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. Click the link in the show notes, use the promo code, and I'll see you inside the program. Thank you for tuning in today. See you on the next episode.